This episode is brought to you by pastasworld.com, where you can find jigsaw puzzles, coffee and tea mugs, canvas and poster prints, iPhone cases, and more. You can even order custom items with your own pictures. Go to pastasworld.com or the Pastas World shop on Etsy to learn more.
You're listening to I Love This TV Show, The Golden Girls.
Hi, and welcome to the I Love This TV Show podcast. I'm your host, Noelle from pastasworld.com. Each season of this podcast will contain a TV show in full. This means the length of the season depends on the length of the TV show. The first season is, of course, The Golden Girls.
It is here, and I am excited. It is the very first episode of The Golden Girls, Season 1, Episode 1. This actually goes by two names. And on the DVD series, it's called The Pilot. But if you look on websites, you'll find that it's actually called The Engagement. And you can find both names referenced in multiple places. So let's dive on into what happens in this episode where we meet our Golden Girls. Dorothy arrives home. She tells Coco that she had a tough day teaching. She took offense to a bald girl with a nose ring. Rose joins them in the kitchen. She's not had the best day either. The people at her grief counseling center are a real drag. Blanche enters the kitchen wearing a mink coat. It's Dorothy's, and she has to borrow it for her date. She's going out with Harry again, but none of them has met him. Dorothy. Harry? Who is this Harry? Rose. All Blanche said was, he still has his own teeth and hair. Dorothy. Oh, it's wonderful dating in Miami. All the single men under 80 are cocaine smugglers. Dorothy and Rose discuss age and how they'd like to be younger again. Blanche comes back into the kitchen to ask Rose if she can borrow her earrings. Dorothy then asks her about Harry. Blanche gives her a list of the qualities he has that she finds attractive. She is also thrilled that he's still interested. Rose doesn't understand. Blanche tells them that he proposed to her. Blanche. And he proposed. Dorothy. Blanche, wait a minute. He proposed? You've only known him a week. Blanche. And he wants an answer tonight. Rose and Dorothy worry about losing their home. Dorothy follows her back to her room, and Blanche also joins them. They press her for more information about Harry. The doorbell rings, and Blanche freaks out as she thinks Harry's arrived. However, it's actually Sophia at the door. Her rest home burned down. She declares her independence and, in the same breath, asks Dorothy to pay for her cab. It's $67, and Dorothy's outraged. The cabbie is clearly trying to take advantage of Sophia. Dorothy goes out to take care of it. Dorothy. $67? Ma, this is crazy. The home is 15 minutes from here. Sophia. My cab driver is Cuban. He said there was an additional tax for a bilingual driver. Dorothy angrily. I'll take care of him. Rose tries to comfort Sophia, but she's thrilled the home burned down. Blanche comes out and greets Sophia, and Sophia asks her if she's a prostitute. Blanche. Oh, Sophia, honey, how nice to see you. Sophia. Who are you? Blanche. It's me, Blanche. Sophia. You look like a prostitute. Rose. Sophia, the things you say, she didn't mean that, Blanche. Sophia. Of course I meant it. Look at her. My cab driver would fall in love. Rose is upset by this, and Blanche explains to her that Sophia had a stroke, so she doesn't have an edit button anymore. The doorbell rings again, and this time it is Harry. The girls finally get to meet him. The pair exit, and Sophia makes it clear that she does not like him, even calls him a scuzzball. Rose and Dorothy continue to discuss the possibility of moving. That night on the lanai, they continue the discussion. Rose is worried that Blanche will say yes. Dorothy gets frustrated, and they move back inside the house. Blanche returns from her date with Harry, and they ask her what happened. She starts telling them about the food. Dorothy cuts her off, exasperated, and gets directly to the point, but Blanche dodges the question. She finally admits that she's going to marry Harry next week. Rose asks about living arrangements. Blanche says they can stay there until they find another place. Rose and Dorothy discuss how they got married. Rose: Charlie and I waited 2 whole years before we got married. Dorothy: I got married before my father finished the sentence. Rose: You married your father? Dorothy: My father told Stan that he had to marry me. I was pregnant. Rose: You had a blowgun wedding? Dorothy: If you live in the Amazon, in Queens, it's called shotgun. Dorothy and Stan were married for 38 years before divorcing because of his affair with a stewardess. Sophia comes out of her room, not making a lot of sense. The three discuss their sleep and bathroom habits. Sophia's is the most memorable. I never have that problem. Never. I sleep like a log. I never get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. I go in the morning. Every morning, like clockwork. At 7 a.m., I pee. Unfortunately, I don't wake up until 8. It's now the day of the wedding. Rose is suspicious of Harry. She confides this in Dorothy. Dorothy tries to stop Rose from talking to Blanche about it. Blanche shares her nerves with the two of them. And then she has to run to the bathroom. And Dorothy takes this time to put Rose in a headlock, of all things, to keep her quiet. Blanche comes back and gushes about how the two are her best friends that she's ever had. They share a group hug. Dorothy resorts to locking Rose in the closet. Harry is also half an hour late, and Blanche is starting to freak out a bit. The doorbell finally rings, but it's not Harry. It's a police officer looking for Blanche Hollingsworth. He tells her that Harry's been arrested for bigamy. He has 6 wives. The officer gives her a note before he leaves, and Dorothy reads it to her. Dear Blanche, I guess you know by now. I'm really sorry. The thing is, I really liked you. This time was different. You're a special lady. Maybe someday you'll write to me. Harry. Blanche goes from being nervous and excited to being devastated and feeling like an old fool. It's now a different day, and Dorothy storms out onto the lanai furious because her newspaper is wet. Dorothy checks to see if Sophia is still alive, and then she sits and asks Rose how Blanche is doing. Rose tells her she's stayed home again from the museum she works at. It's now been 3 weeks since she's gone to work. Rose is worried she'll be fired. The two discuss grief. Blanche suddenly appears on the lanai. She tells them that they make her happy to be alive. Rose: We have to celebrate. Dorothy: What, that she came out of her room? Rose: That we're together. Blanche: And that no matter what happens, even if we all get married, we'll stick together. Rose: Then we'll need a much bigger house. Dorothy: Sure, Rose. After lunch, you can pick up the lumber. And we're going to take a quick break.
Favorite quotes. Dorothy: It's Miami in June. Only cats are wearing fur. Blanche: And he's still interested. Rose: In what? Dorothy: Rose, if you have to ask, it doesn't matter anymore. Dorothy: You'll know when you hear it come out of your mouth. This isn't a belch, Blanche. This is marriage. Dorothy: Will you look at this? She has more colors than Benjamin Moore paints. Rose: Sit down, Sophia. You must be exhausted. Sophia: Why? I rode in the cab. I didn't push it. Sophia: You look like a prostitute. Harry: Well, you must be Blanche's sister. Sophia: You must be blind. Sophia: I go to the bathroom every morning at 7 a.m. like clockwork. Unfortunately, I don't wake up till 8. Blanche: When I get nervous, I have to go all the time. Public bathrooms are so hard for me. I wash my hands so thoroughly and then find it so hard to get back out without touching the doorknob.
We learned some new facts about our girls in this episode. Dorothy is a teacher. Rose works at a grief counseling center. Blanche is dating a guy named Harry. Harry is also proposed. Blanche's late husband's name was George. Sophia is Dorothy's mother, and her rest home burned down. Sophia has previously had a stroke, and it damaged the part of her brain that would edit what she says or trigger the think before you speak process. Rose tells them that Blanche cannot be without a man, and she made a date at her husband's funeral. She makes it clear that Blanche is a nymphomaniac. Rose's husband was named Charlie, and he died 15 years ago. Dorothy is very short-tempered, especially with Rose and also with her mother. Rose and Charlie waited 2 years to get married. Dorothy and Stan had a shotgun wedding because Dorothy was already knocked up. Dorothy and Stan were married for 38 years before they got divorced. Dorothy states that Stan is 65 years old in this episode and that he has gout. Blanche has issues with public restrooms and their cleanliness or lack thereof. Dorothy has no problem resorting to violence to get her way. Rose and Dorothy are the two best friends that Blanche has ever had. Blanche is referred to as Blanche Hollingsworth in this episode, which is her maiden name. And as we learn later, Devereaux is her married name. Blanche works in a museum and hasn't gone to work in 3 weeks since the whole Harry bigamy issue. Sophia states that she's 80 years old in this episode. And Sophia, she likes to gamble. So there was a lot that went on in this episode. And many of the topics that popped up, first one that strikes me is age. These women are not 20-somethings. They're older ladies in their mid-50s. Even though Blanche does not like to admit it and pretend she's in her 40s. It was a groundbreaking show because never before was a TV show done about older or middle-aged women who were the complete stars of a sitcom. And dating is something that they still do. They're still active. They're still vital. Blanche clearly dates and has not stopped since her husband's death. Technically, as soon as he died at the funeral, she picked up where she left off prior to being married. And Dorothy and Rose clearly have more trouble considering they have standards and won't date drug dealers, con men, or any other guys who don't seem to be on the up and up. Oh, and they won't date guys on life support. Marriage. That's always an interesting topic for people in this age group. All the girls have been married before. Blanche and Rose are both widows. But Dorothy, she's divorced. Her ex-husband Stan is still alive and well, and they are very bitterly divorced. And she does not do anything to hide just how much she hates him. Now, Blanche, she's open to getting married again, as she does accept Harry's proposal. But Harry's a bigamist. He doesn't just have a few wives, he's got 6. The first one is legal, but the next 5, well, they're not. And since he'll be in jail, Blanche will not become wife number 7. But the con and deception that he laid on Blanche still sting, and take her 3 weeks to recover from. These 3 girls, Rose, Dorothy, and Blanche, they're still all really lively and active women. No different than when they were in their 20s or 30s or 40s. They're just in their 50s now. But each one is unique. Rose is shy and naive, not always quick to catch on, but she's got a heart of gold. Dorothy is smart and sarcastic. She never misses a beat or a sharp comment. Blanche, well, she is clearly mistaken as a lady of the night by more than just Sophia. But she is kind and caring and loves the girls like they were her sisters. And Sophia like she was her own mother. I can't forget Sophia, our Sicilian, sharp-tongued, storytelling eldest member of the group, who proclaims she's 80. She loves all three girls like they were her own, even though she's really just Dorothy's mom. Coco, I cannot forget him. He does deserve honorable mention here, even though he was only in the pilot episode. The house does only have 4 bedrooms, and since Sophia's home burned out, he was sadly the one who had to go to make room for her. But he seemed a kind man. He was also a man you didn't see much on TV in the 80s, as according to Sophia, he was also a gay man. He served as their cook or butler, as he made dinner and served drinks and such. My favorite part of this episode is how it ends. The girls hug and decide to always be there for each other, just like sisters and families do. They stick together. It's been great reliving this episode with you. Please check out the podcast website, anchor.fm/I love this TV show, no spaces. You'll be able to see the show notes and also support this podcast. To check out everything I'm up to and nerding about, head over to pastasworld.com. You'll also find additional content there. Thanks for listening, and stay golden.